Voting is a cornerstone of any democracy. It is the method by which citizens express their preferences for leadership and policies. Without active participation from its citizens, a democracy cannot function effectively. By voting, individuals can influence decisions that affect their daily lives, such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Hence, every vote counts in shaping the future of a nation. History has shown that collective voter action can lead to significant shifts in public policy and societal norms. For instance, the civil rights movement in the United States achieved monumental progress through the power of the vote. This collective effort strengthens the overall democratic framework. The voter registration process is the essential first step in participating in elections. It ensures that only eligible individuals can cast a ballot. Requirements and procedures vary by state, but the general principles remain consistent. Many states offer online registration, making the process more accessible. Registration can also be completed in person or by mail. Accurate voter rolls ensure a fair and transparent electoral process. Voters need to keep their details current, especially if they move.
Yeah, I remember when I first registered to vote. It was straightforward, but I had to ensure my information was up to date.
There are several methods available for casting a vote in the United States, each catering to different needs and circumstances. The most traditional method is in-person voting, where voters go to a designated polling station on Election Day. Mail-in voting has become increasingly popular, especially in recent years. Voters receive their ballots through the mail, fill them out at their convenience, and return them by mail or drop them off at designated locations. Absentee voting is another method that allows individuals to vote without being physically present at a polling station. It is typically used by military personnel stationed overseas, college students studying out of state, or anyone who cannot be present on Election Day.
Each voting method has its own set of procedures and deadlines which voters should be aware of. Understanding the different voting methods can help voters choose the most convenient and secure way to participate in the election process.
Election Day is the culmination of the electoral process, where voters finally cast their ballots and voice their choices. On this day, polling stations open early and close late to accommodate as many voters as possible. When voters arrive at a polling station, they first check in with election officials who verify their registration and identity. Once verified, voters receive their ballots and proceed to a private booth to make their selections. After marking their choices, voters submit their ballots into a secure ballot box or electronic voting machine. The process of counting votes begins as soon as the polls close.
Transparency is key during the vote counting process. Observers from different political parties and independent organizations often monitor the proceedings to ensure fairness. This oversight helps maintain public trust in the electoral process and ensures that the final outcome reflects the will of the voters.
The history of voting rights in the United States is a testament to the country's ongoing struggle for equality and justice. Initially, the right to vote was limited to white male property owners.
The 15th Amendment, ratified in 1870, was a major turning point, granting African American men the right to vote. Despite this constitutional guarantee, many African Americans faced disenfranchisement through discriminatory practices like poll taxes and literacy tests.
It wasn't until the Civil Rights Movement and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 that these barriers were significantly reduced. Women gained the right to vote with the passage of the 19th Amendment in 1920.
The 26th Amendment, ratified in 1971, further expanded suffrage by lowering the voting age from 21 to 18, recognizing the contributions and rights of younger citizens. Understanding this history is crucial for appreciating the importance of voting and the ongoing efforts to protect and expand this fundamental right.
The Electoral College is a unique feature of the U.S. electoral system, playing a crucial role in presidential elections. Established by the Constitution, it consists of 538 electors who ultimately decide the winner of the presidential race. Each state is allocated a certain number of electors based on its representation in Congress.
When citizens cast their votes for president, they are actually voting for a slate of electors chosen by their party. These electors then cast the official votes for president and vice president.
The Electoral College system has its supporters and critics. Proponents argue that it balances the influence of smaller states and prevents urban areas from dominating presidential elections. Critics, however, contend that it can lead to situations where a candidate wins the popular vote but loses the electoral vote, as seen in the 2016 elections. Understanding the Electoral College is essential for comprehending how presidential elections are decided in the United States.
The election process in the United States is not without its challenges and controversies. One of the most significant issues is voter suppression, which refers to tactics that prevent eligible voters from exercising their right to vote. This can include strict voter ID laws, purging of voter rolls, and limited access to polling stations.
Election security is another major concern. With the increasing use of electronic voting systems, there are fears about hacking and other forms of cyber interference. Ensuring the integrity of the vote is paramount, and efforts are continually being made to improve security measures and safeguard against potential threats.
Gerrymandering, the practice of drawing electoral district boundaries to favor a particular party, is also a contentious issue. This manipulation can skew election results and undermine the principle of fair representation. Efforts to reform redistricting practices are ongoing, with some states adopting independent commissions to draw district lines.
Voter suppression remains a persistent issue in the United States, posing a significant threat to the democratic process. Various tactics are used to disenfranchise eligible voters, particularly those from marginalized communities.
Strict voter ID laws are one common method of voter suppression. Critics contend that they disproportionately affect low-income individuals, people of color, and the elderly, who may have difficulty obtaining the necessary identification.
Purging voter rolls is another controversial practice. Some states have been accused of removing eligible voters from the rolls without sufficient notice or justification.
Limited access to polling stations also hinders voter participation. In some areas, particularly rural or predominantly minority neighborhoods, there are fewer polling places, leading to long lines and extended wait times.
Efforts to combat voter suppression are ongoing, with advocacy groups working to challenge restrictive laws and practices through legal action and public awareness campaigns. Ensuring that every eligible voter can exercise their right to vote is crucial for a healthy democracy. This collective effort strengthens the overall democratic framework. Ensuring the security of elections is vital to maintaining public trust in the democratic process. With the rise of technology, election security has become increasingly complex, involving both physical and cyber threats.
Electronic voting systems offer efficiency and accessibility, but also present risks like hacking.
Cybersecurity is a major concern in modern elections. Foreign interference and cyber attacks can disrupt the electoral process.
Physical security at polling stations is also important.
Public awareness and education are key components of election security. By staying vigilant, both officials and citizens can contribute to the integrity of the electoral process. Poll workers and election officials play a crucial role in the functioning of the electoral process. They are responsible for ensuring that elections are conducted smoothly, fairly, and securely.
On Election Day, poll workers handle various tasks, including checking in voters, providing ballots, and assisting those who need help. They ensure that polling stations are set up correctly and operate efficiently.
Election officials oversee the broader aspects of the election process. They are involved in preparing and distributing ballots, training poll workers, and managing the logistics of voting operations. Their responsibilities also include verifying voter eligibility, counting ballots, and certifying the results.
Recruiting and training poll workers and election officials is an ongoing challenge. Many jurisdictions rely on volunteers, and finding enough qualified individuals can be difficult.
Public appreciation and support for poll workers and election officials are important. Recognizing their contributions helps highlight the critical role they play in maintaining the health of democracy. Encouraging civic-minded individuals to volunteer as poll workers can also strengthen the electoral process. This collective effort strengthens the overall democratic framework. In conclusion, voting is the lifeblood of democracy. It empowers citizens to shape their government and influence policies that impact their lives.
Understanding the history of voting rights in the United States highlights the progress made and the challenges that remain.
Participation in elections is a fundamental civic duty. By voting, citizens contribute to the strength and vitality of their democracy.
As we look to the future, fostering an informed and engaged electorate remains a paramount goal. Ultimately, the act of voting is more than a right, it is a responsibility. Each vote is a voice in the chorus of democracy, and together those voices create the symphony of a free and fair society. Let us continue to cherish and protect this vital aspect of our democratic heritage.